Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Collider Dailies. I'm John Aljets. Joining us is, of course, Maggie. We are going to be talking about a few things here today, but before we get into it, Maggie, let's get our your spiel again. Sorry about that.
It is okay. It is the beauty of doing a live show, but I am so excited to announce that myself and Arzu women of Collider, of course, are flying out to San Francisco next week to moderate a whole slew of exciting panels at Fan Expo in San Francisco. And I would like to share some of the excellent panels that we will be moderating. First up with myself, I will be moderating the panel for James Marsters. And then on Saturday, I will be moderating the panels for Rose McGowan and Holly Marie Combs. And then one of the panels I'm really excited for, which is the Women in Sci-Fi, which will feature Mary McDonnell, Sonequa Martin Green, and Michelle Hurd. And then I will also be moderating the panel for Sean Gunn. And then on Sunday, the one that I am definitely like the most excited about is Ewan McGregor, the one and only. I will be moderating the panel for him. And then if you would like to know what Arzu will be doing, she will be moderating a panel for the Star Wars Rebels, which features Taylor Gray, Vanessa Marshall, and Ashley Eckstein. And then on Sunday, she has a full slate of panels. She will be moderating for Sean Astin. And then she will be doing another Star Wars panel with Iman Asfandi, who, of course, was just Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka. And then she will be wrapping the day up with Tamora Morrison and Daniel Logan, the Fets. And you will also be able to catch Arzu and I on the creator stage on Friday doing a live daily show, which will hopefully go a little bit better than our live technical difficulty show today. But that is the beauty of doing live shows, and we are both so excited to be flying out to San Francisco next week. So if you haven't got your tickets yet for Fan Expo and you are in California or able to hustle yourself over there, we would love to see you. So be sure to find us on the floor or at one of these fantastic panels.
Yeah, so if you are at Fan Expo, go ahead and check those out. If you're not, stick around. There will be plenty of stuff coming from it, I am sure. And also be sure to tune in to the live show that will be going up. We'll get you more information about that down the line. Just be sure to pay attention to all of the socials, collider.com, all that stuff. All the info will be up there. So let's get into our first topic for today, which is the Marvel's box office performance and how underwhelming it kind of was, which... Yeah. So it did about $110 million domestically in its opening weekend, pulling in $47 million domestic, $110 million internationally, blah, blah, blah. You understand how that all works. So $47 million domestically actually puts it at the bottom of the MCU releases in terms of its opening weekend box office performance. To put that into context, The Incredible Hulk is the next lowest, and it pulled in $55 million domestically, and Ant-Man was the one above that, which pulled in $57 million. So the Marvels is underperforming compared to even the entire rest of the MCU. To break even, the Marvels needs to pull in $440 million total just to break even on a $220 million budget, because Hollywood math, that's just, whenever you're trying to figure out for a Hollywood film to break even, the good rule of thumb is take whatever the budget is and double it. And that is roughly where you need to be for Hollywood to have considered it a profitable film at that point. Maggie, what are your thoughts on this? I know that we were talking a little bit beforehand about how ridiculous it is that a $47 million opening weekend is considered a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I think it is just insane that you can have a movie hit almost 50 million domestically and it is considered a bomb. I think it is indicative of the fact that a lot of the superhero films have very overinflated budgets. And I do think Marvel in particular has been very unrealistic about their box offices. After Spider-Man, they kind of seen a dip off in terms of how well their their movies are doing in the cinemas. Obviously, this is part of a larger downward slope. Obviously, everything is not going to be Barbenheimer. People are not going to the theaters the way they used to. You know, for many people, they still view the pandemic as still being very active. They're not wanting to risk it. And I also think it's a sign that they need to scale back their budgets on these films and look to ways to make these films just as fantastic with smarter choices. You know, we were talking before the show about The Creator, which was, done on a shoestring budget. Obviously, it did okay. It broke even at the box office. It did decent. But that film looks incredible. And that's really just speaking to the fact that you can make a film for a low budget, obviously still millions of dollars.
Low is relative.
Yeah, low is relevant. But you still have something that looks better than 95% of the things that are in Marvel. And that's no knock to the VFX people. Obviously, they are doing the best that they can on their budgets, their time scales, and all of these things. So
they're also stretched incredibly thin.
So thin. Yeah. And I think that just kind of speaks to the fact that Marvel still really needs to take a step back and figure out where they're going with their films and what they need to prioritize, because I think quality over quantity and also just like budgeting needs to be factored into their future. And I think it seems like that's something that they are definitely looking into. The release schedule is a little less ambitious than it was when it was initially announced at Hall H. And hopefully that means budget's going to be less. I know we talked a little bit about Blade having a significantly lower budget than one might expect, and maybe that means they're going to look more into like practical effects and like smarter ways to do things, so that you do have huge wins when your movie does, make back all of that money.
Yeah, and something is definitely up as far as like the box office. This year in general has been pretty low across the board. Mm-hmm. Most of the films that you would have expected to have been major performers just weren't. I mean, Mission Impossible, was also another one that way underperformed what people were expecting. So there's definitely something to be said about just right now, like moviegoers aren't going out to theaters like they used to. At least when they are, they're not seeing the things that you would expect them to see. They're going out and they're seeing, Barbie, they're seeing Oppenheimer, they're seeing Five Nights at Freddy's. They aren't seeing, the latest Marvel movie. They aren't seeing the latest big budget blockbuster. And, you pointed out there's still some people who are, worried about going out because of COVID and everything that is still very much real. That's definitely affecting it. Also, on top of that, there's just a lot of burnout for especially superhero films. A lot of people, who I talk to are saying like, hey, they're kind of done with it at this point. They're kind of over it. Or if they are going to watch it, they're waiting for it to come home. They're just like, it's not worth it for me to go out to the movie theater, spend $50-$60 on, food and gas and everything to get there. It's just not worth it for some people. And I understand that. But, for a movie like this to have such a massive budget and then, to have underperformed like this is really a bummer and is really telling. Maybe Disney needs to rethink their strategy. I mean, I feel like they definitely do. And I feel like they know that they do. But I don't know. I'm personally, I'm still on board with the MCU. I'm also a massive comic fan, massive superhero fan. I've been a part of this for so long. I've been into it for so long that I'm like, okay, I'm here to see it. I'm very excited about the prospect of getting a Secret Wars adaptation. They need to rethink how they're approaching it.
Yeah, and I do want to say I want and hope that Marvel and Disney learn the right thing from this, which is to have lower budgets and not to nix having, female-led, female-directed projects, because that's not the issue. It's more the strategy and the fact that I personally don't think that the marketing strategy for this was well done. I think they could have easily turned this into an event thing, even though, obviously the strike ended just in time for the cast to start doing interviews and stuff. But I think there was a smart strategy that they could have done without the cast that they just kind of failed to do. And I think that, you need to turn these things into event things. I was hoping that, the Barbenheimer thing would have taught people that people want experiences. They want the vibe when they go to, theater. It's not just about sitting down and being entertained. It's about the communal experience of seeing a movie together. And it seems like they neglected that aspect of it going into this movie. So I really hope, if Marvel's listening to us, don't learn the wrong lessons from this. Learn the right lessons, which is just being more realistic with your budgets and finding ways to engage with your audience and get them into the theater.
There are definitely people who are trying to make the argument that it's because it's a female-led film and it's a film that was directed by a female director. To those people, I will say, don't watch this show because no, you're wrong. It is 100% a bunch of factors that are coming together, and that is not one of them. So yeah, it's not looking great for the Marvels. I will say I saw the movie. I had fun with it. Was it groundbreaking? No. Was it like the best movie ever? No, but it was fun. And sometimes when you go see a movie, that's all that really should matter.
Yeah.
I had a great time with it. The end credit scene, which, we were talking a little bit before the show, and we were both kind of like, was this film just to have that end credit scene? There's a debate to be had there, but not what we're here for. Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic today, which is that Coyote versus Acme is not dead. If you did not know what I'm talking about here, the basic sort of story here was that there was a Looney Tunes film called Coyote versus Acme that was fully done with production, and Warner Brothers pulled a Batgirl on it and canned it for a tax write-off. That's really what it came down to, a $30 million tax write-off, because they can claim full losses on this film. And we thought that was going to be kind of the end of the show, but a lot of people got up in arms about this, as they should, because that's kind of not great. And now it looks like Warner Brothers has decided that they are going to shop it around to other distributors. We're getting a report that they are setting up screenings for folks from Amazon Prime, Apple, and Netflix, with hopes of having them acquire the movie for streaming rights. Yeah. So, some business back dealings. This film was finished filming in 2022, so it's been ready to go, or at least close to being ready to go, for quite a while.
Yeah. It screened at festivals. Audiences loved it. It was really well received. That's what I think is like the most confusing part of this whole thing. Like, obviously the Batgirl situation is a whole conversation in its own. But that did seem to have like mixed reactions from like test screenings and stuff. But this one had such strong reactions, and it was such, for a studio that's celebrating, 100 years, this was everything that kind of falls into what Warner Brothers has always been about. The mix of animation meets live action is like as old as time for them, basically. So it's so shocking that they killed it. And, part of those reports, included the fact that apparently a lot of filmmakers pulled out of meetings with Warner Brothers in response to them killing this project. So I don't know if this will change anything. I don't know if people pulled out of meetings around Batgirl too, but it definitely seems like Warner Brothers finally, faced some consequences of their actions. And I definitely think in terms of all the studios, they have looked the worst here recently with all of their tax write-offs. So maybe this will be like a sign of change, but I hate that there's a precedent that's been set that you can take a fully completed, fully done project, kill it, and it will never see the light of day. Like, that just is so anti-art. It is like unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that it's worth noting, like, we talk about this movie and we talk about Batgirl. There was another movie that they did this to. There was Scoob Holiday Haunt, a sequel to Scoob, which I liked the first Scoob. I had a lot of fun with it. Nobody said anything about that Scoob movie. It didn't make headlines. It didn't do anything. It just kind of like really flew under the radar. I feel like now that they tried it a third time, a bunch of people are looking back and going, wait, there was also a Scooby-Doo movie that we didn't get? What the heck? It's becoming a worrying trend with Warner Brothers. So hearing that they are open to shopping it around to other people is nice. It means that some people are going to be able to watch this film that a lot of people worked hard on and a lot of people probably poured a lot of their passion into. And, before it was no one was going to get to see it. Now people might actually be able to see it. So
I feel like there's a pun in there to be had about the fact that John Cena was in it and we almost didn't see it. But
yeah, that's another thing is the movie had
star power behind it.
It had star power.
Yeah.
Like Batgirl, it had recognizable faces, but I wouldn't say that any of them were
I mean, I feel like
big box office sellers.
But killing Batgirl in the midst of Brendan Fraser's return was
his renaissance.
Bizarre.
I feel like that was just a case of them not seeing that Brendan Fraser.
They never read the room.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely great to be hearing it coming back. Jeremy Miller says, to be fair, nothing can touch the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie. You're not wrong, but if you haven't seen Scoob, the animated movie that came out a couple years ago, it's a lot of fun. It's a great family movie. If you got kids, by all means, go watch it. I had so much fun with it. It hit my heart really strongly because I grew up as a Scooby-Doo kid. Yeah. So anyways, moving on to our third topic for today. Speaking of childhood properties, Garfield. We got a teaser trailer for Garfield, which I'll be honest, I didn't know that we were getting this.
I did, unfortunately, because of the voice of Garfield. I remember this well.
So yeah, I just was watching stuff on YouTube and I found it's a Garfield trailer. Let's watch that. It's Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is voicing Garfield. I'm gonna throw this out there. A lot of people when this trailer came out, they were memeing on it, being like, "Oh, it's Chris Pratt voicing another character like this," and they were like comparing it to Mario. Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, I think, is a better fit than Chris Pratt voicing Mario.
I unfortunately agree. I do think he does decently well here because he's really good at that monotone humor thing that Garfield's already known for. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
I will say I didn't hate the trailer. The trailer actually kind of I looked at it, and I was like, this is going to be a fun kids movie. And now, note though, when I say something is going to be like a kids movie, for a lot of people, that's they're like, oh, it's good for a kids movie, whatever, it's a kids movie, so we can kind of accept it to be lower quality. I'm not one of those people, so when I just point out that it's a good kids movie, I'm literally just saying it'll be a good movie for kids. That's not that I'm not speaking to the quality of the film when I do that. But it looks like it's fun. The rest of the cast, there's some talent there. You got Samuel L. Jackson is playing Garfield's dad. Nicholas Hoult is in it, but I didn't actually pick up who he's playing. But he is going to be in it. Always great to see people like that going into a movie like this. Samuel L. Jackson being Garfield's dad is an interesting choice. I don't. It's one of those things where I'm like, how much of the Sam Jackson isms are going to come through in that performance? Obviously, he's not going to be dropping F-bombs, but Sam Jackson has a style and a vibe to him. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit interesting. His best voice work is Emmett in the Lego Movie, but Mario could have been somebody else. That's Jeremy Miller in chat saying that about Chris Pratt. Yeah, honestly, I actually sometimes forget that he was Emmett in the Lego Movie because, to me, it's just such a bespoke character that I forget that it was Chris Pratt. Yeah, and also it was kind of in the midst of the Chris Pratt rise to stardom. Yeah. But yeah. So Garfield, it looks pretty good. Definitely something that you should check out and form your own opinion on it. But just know that there's more Chris Pratt voiceover work in the future. Maggie's sitting there just rolling her eyes. All right, we know how Maggie feels about this.
I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of really talented voice actors that should still be taking voice actor roles, and that every star should not decide they can also do voice acting.
Okay, hold up a second here. So our own producer is having a discussion with Jeremy Miller about Garfield in the chat, and he's saying there's also literal decades of comics dedicated to the lazy cat, lots of lore to discover. Is there Garfield lore?
There's so much Garfield lore. There's lore about why he hates Mondays too. There's so much Garfield lore. Do you mean you didn't read the funny pages every weekend? Gosh.
Yeah, but I didn't pick up that there was like deep storylines that like I need to be like reading into, and I need to go back and read comics from like 20 years ago to get all the nuances of a cat who likes lasagna.
Oh, I
mean, everything these days has deep lore, so like I shouldn't.
Here's your next Collider show idea: the lore of Garfield.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should look into like a show that just like explores different lore.
Yeah.
Like for different things. I think there's an idea in there. Mondays do suck though, Jeremy. You're not wrong.
Well, there's the podcast name.
Anyways, that's all that we have for us today. Couple of small things. First and foremost, I have to give my my shout out for No Shave November that I do every episode this month. I am partaking in No Shave November to raise awareness for prostate cancer research. So go ahead and donate to the American Cancer Society. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for that, so that you can donate to kind of help fight prostate cancer, because who likes cancer? Nobody. So you should absolutely go. I'm pulling this up right here. So go to cancer.org. That is the American Cancer Society. Go over there. Donate if you can. If you can't, that's fine too. Go over there and yeah. Let's get rid of cancer across the board, especially prostate cancer. But anyways, we will see you tomorrow.
It is you and Perry, I believe.
It's Perry and I tomorrow. That's right. You would think that at a certain point I would remember the schedule, but days are blurring together. It's all just one giant fog. Yeah, so tomorrow will be Perry and myself. We will be talking about all sorts of movie news goodness. So be sure to tune in for that. Hopefully we won't have as many technical difficulties as we did today, but if we do, thank you for bearing with us. Yeah, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
And check out what's on the Fan Expo schedule.
Yes, do that right now.
Yes.